The French have taken steps. They have recalled millions of phones in France that have been found not to be adequate, and they are issuing advice. They have banned the use of cell phones by anyone in schools right now up to age 16. I know that a lot of children who have phones will be horrified at that idea, but in fact, I think parents need to take back their power and only give phones to children for emergency purposes only. Our children need to know how to use computers and phones so they can be digital citizens, but they need to understand it's a two-way microwave radio and should never be kept close to the body for any length of time unless it's on airplane mode or off. Now, just to give you some idea of what we understand about toxic agents and why it's so important to protect our children, try with me saying, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Let's do it. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now faster. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now really fast. Peter Piper, blah, blah, blah. The point is, the faster that cells grow, like in a child's brain, in a child's body, the greater the chance a mistake will be made. The faster you drive, the shorter time you have to correct a mistake. Speed kills, and speed for cell growth is in fact problematic. So that's why we take great steps to protect our children. We have seat belts and special seats for them in cars and bike helmets and ski helmets. We take a lot of effort to protect the brain of a child, do we not? But we're not protecting them now. We are, some of us unknowingly, exposing them to microwave radiation with increasing number of devices, all of which cross the membranes in the cells and can compromise DNA by passing through the membrane. That's the thing that links toxic materials. Toxic materials can cross the membrane of our cells that is supposed to protect us, and that's how they get in. They can get into the mitochondria or other organelles inside the cell cytoplasm and can cause damage. Now, another fast-moving part of humans is sperm. It takes at least 250,000 sperm to make a healthy baby. Some people have asked, why does it take so many? And the answer is that sperm do not know how to ask for directions. But the real answer is that you want the healthiest, strongest sperm to survive and to fertilize the egg. That's what you want. All over the world, since the industrial era began, there has been a decline in sperm count. Men today are estimated to be half the men their grandfathers were in terms of their testosterone levels, all over the world. There are many different things that cause this. Pesticides, organic chemicals, volatile solvents, radiation, tight underwear, hot tubs, and cell phone radiation. All can contribute to damaging sperm. And again, it's fast developing and therefore more vulnerable. There are some controlled experiments with human sperm, and I'm just going to show you a few right now. They've taken healthy sperm from healthy men and put them in a test tube. Of course, they're going to die eventually. And then they've had other sperm that they do nothing with, but the ones in the test tube get exposed to cell phone radiation. And here's what we find. This is studies done by this professor in Australia who is quite highly regarded and is associate chancellor of his university now there. You can see on the black bar on the top, the exposed sperm have about 1/3 as many vital sperm as the controls, right? The controls are the white bar, and there's so many more of them, and the exposed, there's about 1/3 as many. On the bottom cell, you have a measure of damage to the DNA. And there you see the opposite results. The exposed sperm, 30%, 25% have DNA damage, whereas the control sperm, a small amount, has DNA damage. Because being alive damages our DNA. Breathing, sunlight, oxygen, they'll all damage DNA. And if you eat some of the wonderful foods being shown here, and you exercise and breathe and do your yoga, and that noise reminds me to please turn your phones on airplane mode now or off, for the courtesy of those who are trying to listen, as well as for those who want to avoid exposure. What we know from this study is that sperm is damaged by cell phone radiation. This may be what happened to Callie, although she's a woman. Here is a measure of damage to the DNA on sperm from just having a laptop right over the Petri dishes that made no heat. So they controlled for the heat. This is just the wireless radiation. And they showed that there was damage to the DNA with respect to exposure to the radiation from a laptop. Laptops aren't called laptops anymore. They're called tablets. They belong on tables. They do not belong on the bodies of young children except on airplane mode for short periods of time. If you must download a movie or something to give to a child because you're on a long car trip or something, please download it first and then put it on airplane mode so the child can observe it. You'll save your battery and you'll spare your child or yourself the exposures to microwave radiation. There's even evidence that cell phone radiation can interfere with libido. For men and women, by the way. We know that tobacco smoke does interfere with libido, but there's no question that a lot of young people today, they're having less sex. We don't know why. This might be one of the explanations. What we do know from studies that I've done with my colleagues in Turkey, as well as in Brazil, is that cell phone radiation can damage the testis. And these pictures here on the left is the controls, shows you healthy cells with that nice membrane intact. That's what that white border shows you. And then on the right side of the screen, you see what happens after exposure to cell phone radiation, which is why the Cleveland Clinic has advised it's best to keep your phone as far from the testis as you can.